Okay, so this is the MartinLogan Master Series Placement Setup Guide video. One thing to think about when you're setting up your speakers is the actual room surfaces. And so you'll notice I'm in a room that looks outside here that has glass, but I put electronic Venetian blinds in front of them, and the room sounds much better when the blinds are closed. I also added some curtains on either side, panels coming down, because they actually soften the sound. And if you went back and looked at the back of the room, I've actually got bookshelves behind my main seating position to soften things up. So every time you can think about that, and actually these two chairs here, they serve two purposes. One is if I have a meeting in this room, but the second is they actually help with reflections and softening up sound in the room. What I first want to show you, we're sitting in my home office, is how you think about placing the speakers. So we've got a room here that's a little over 20 feet deep, about 15 feet wide, and almost 10 feet high. And the way to do this is to start with your speakers. You want to move the back of the speaker. So you go to the very back of the woofer here, and you want to start with it the size of the woofer off of the wall. So in the case, these are 13As, they should be 10 inches at least off the wall. So start with them that way. If you went to the 15s, you're 12 inches off. If you had the 11s, you would be 8 inches off. Anyways, you start with them there and place them out about where you think they should go. Then what you're gonna do is you'll start playing music and pulling them forward. And you want to work until the bass gets to a level that you say, okay, I've heard this track 1,000 times. That sounds about the right amount of bass. Okay, when you get there, you're going to tilt the speakers inward. And there's a little trick. I'm going to show you how to do it. You get into your core listening position here, and you're going to take a flashlight and point the flashlight at the speaker. And if you move it across the speaker, you'll see that the speakers need to be pointed in such that it reflects back to you in your core listening position on 1/3 inside of the panel. You don't want it at the center of the panel, and you don't want the outside. So basically they're towed in just a little bit. So obviously it's helpful if you have someone with you who is moving them in a little bit. So you start getting them to the right distance in. The second thing you're going to do, whenever you place them initially, you want to make sure they're at least 2 to 2.5 feet off the wall. Honestly, my own belief is you need at least 2 feet off the side walls. So you start at 2.5 feet, let's say, off the side walls, or if they can be in more, that's fine. And what you want to do is get a sense of, is the image a full size of a band when you're listening to your music? And let's say that the image is too small. You'll start to move your way out wider, or if you feel like the image is really huge, but you're not having really tight imaging in the middle, you'll start to move them back in. So now we've started to get the distance from the wall, and we started to go back and forth. So we're going to play with that until it locks in, and then we're going to set them like that. Then what you're going to do, have someone help you, because these are generally pretty heavy speakers. You're going to turn the speaker over on its side like this. When you do, you'll reach down and unscrew the bottoms and put in the spikes. Now, part of what you're trying to figure out with the spikes, you have the ability to turn the spikes such that the back pushes up so the speaker comes forward more or backwards more. I will tell you, in our own setups, I tend to find that, particularly if you have a low seat like the one you see here, I like to have it arced a little bit more up. So the ones you see right now, I've got the back spikes higher, pushing it up a little bit more than you would think. And to me, that creates a tighter soundstage. Now, if you get further and further back, or maybe you've got a higher chair right here, you may find it opens up the soundstage to have them point a little bit more back. Okay, so that's the first part that you're going to do. As you're doing it, you need to note a couple things. One, if you measure the distance from the center of this speaker to the center of the other speaker, your listening chair should be at least that distance from each speaker. So in other words, an equilateral triangle. In this particular room, I've got this seat just a little bit farther away than the distance from those speakers to each other. Now I've got a unique situation in that I'm actually trying to create 2 seats in this room. I have my main listening position, but I also have, I don't get to sit and listen all the time. I'm usually working. So if I'm working at my desk, I've actually got my desk chair such that it's just under 2 times the distance back. So you're trying to find the in between 1x the distance here and 2x and somewhere in between. And in fact, for most people, they find it, about midway through. For me, I've got a chair at each location, one for working and one when I'm actually listening. So now what I want to do, I want to show you, you've got everything set up, your speakers are in the right place, you're feeling pretty good about it, and now what we want to do is actually run the ARC software. So what you do is you're going to take a RJ45 cable, plug it in. You'll see sitting right in the back of each speaker is a jack. You'll plug it into the first speaker, and then you'll go over and plug it into the second speaker. That connects the two speakers, and now all we've got to do is plug our computer USB cable into this ARC slot here into one of the speakers, and it will actually calibrate both speakers at the exact same time. Once you've done that, the room is generally calibrated, and now you can play with the toggle switch on the back that allows you to turn mid-bass up a little bit, leave mid-bass the same, or turn it down a little bit. And then there's actually a bass crossover that you can play with to just get to your own personal taste. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If you've got questions on this setup, lots of people at Audio Advice have done these setups many times with MartinLogan speakers. So feel free to go over to audioadvice.com. You can chat with us there, email us, give us a call, or if you happen to live in North Carolina, come by our Raleigh or Charlotte showrooms and we can actually show you how it's done in the showroom. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching.